The greatest sabotage you will ever commit is announcing your transformation before it's complete. You are bleeding energy through your mouth. Every plan you broadcast, every goal you post, every dream you declare to people who aren't ready to see it, you're giving away the fuel you need to build it. And this is why you're exhausted. This is why you start strong and finish weak. This is why you keep resetting, restarting, rebuilding from zero. Because you've been constructing your future in public, and the public doesn't protect what it doesn't understand. You're stuck because you've made noise your strategy. You think visibility equals progress. You think if people don't see you moving, you're not moving at all. So you document every step. You explain every pivot. You justify every shift. And in doing so, you've invited every opinion, every doubt, every discouragement into the sacred space where your vision is supposed to grow. You've turned your garden into a marketplace, and nothing survives that kind of exposure. Listen to me carefully. Silence is not absence. Silence is incubation. It's the womb where greatness gestates. It's the factory where your future self is being assembled, but you've been so afraid of being forgotten, so terrified of irrelevance, that you've refused to go quiet. You need the applause. You need the validation. You need someone to tell you it's working before you've even started the real work. And that need, that addiction to external confirmation is what's keeping you shallow. You don't know how to sit with yourself anymore. You don't know how to build without an audience. You don't know how to trust the process when no one's watching. So you perform. You perform growth. You perform discipline. You perform change. And performance exhausts you because it's not real. It's a show, and shows end. But transformation is happening in the dark, under pressure, where no camera can reach and no crowd can cheer. Here's what's destroying you: premature revelation. You're exposing seeds before they root. You're pulling back the curtain before the play is ready. You're inviting critique on a blueprint that hasn't even been tested. And people, even well-meaning people, will kill what they don't understand. They'll question it. They'll doubt it. They'll tell you why it won't work. Not because they're evil, but because they can't see what you see. They're not carrying your vision. They're not living your assignment. And their confusion becomes your hesitation. You've been rejected so many times that now you seek approval before you even start. You pitch your ideas to people who have no authority over your destiny. You ask permission from those who never had the courage to chase their own. And when they shrug, when they hesitate, when they tell you to be realistic, you shrink, you delay, you second guess. And your dream dies in committee, suffocated by opinions that were never meant to shape you. You're afraid of silence because silence feels like invisibility. You think if you're not posting, you're not progressing. If you're not announcing, you're not achieving. If you're not updating, you're falling behind. But that's the lie of a noisy generation. Real builders don't broadcast blueprints. Real craftsmen don't live stream the labor. Real warriors don't announce the war until it's won. Because they understand something you're just beginning to learn. The enemy studies what you reveal. Every time you speak too soon, you give the opposition intelligence. Every time you share too early, you give fear a foothold. Every time you announce before execution, you give doubt a seat at the table. And now your dream is no longer just yours. It's being contaminated by voices that have no business shaping it. It's being diluted by perspectives that can't handle the weight of what you're building. And you wonder why you feel confused. You wonder why clarity keeps slipping. It's because you've been crowdsourcing a vision that was meant to be downloaded in solitude. You're lost because you've been moving without direction. You've confused activity with progress. You've mistaken busyness for purpose. You're doing a lot but accomplishing little because your energy is scattered. You're trying to build 5 things at once because you're afraid one won't be enough. You're chasing every opportunity because you don't trust the one in your hand. And this frantic scrambling, this desperate reaching, it's not ambition, it's panic. It's the response of someone who doesn't know who they are, so they try to be everything for everyone. And the exhaustion is real. You're tired of explaining yourself. You're tired of defending your decisions. You're tired of justifying your pace, your process, your priorities. Because deep down, you know you've been moving to someone else's rhythm. You've been building to someone else's blueprint. You've been measuring your progress against someone else's timeline, and none of it fits. None of it feels right because it's not yours. You need to understand the first rule before anything else can shift. Stop announcing your plans. Stop telling people what you're about to do. Stop posting your goals like they're press releases. Because the moment you speak it, you release the tension that was supposed to fuel the work. You feel accomplished just by saying it. Your brain rewards you for the declaration, not the execution. And now you've robbed yourself of the drive you needed to follow through. This is why you have a graveyard of unfinished projects. This is why your camera roll is full of screenshots of inspiration you never acted on. You announced the intention and your system thought the job was done. Look at the seed. When it falls into soil, it doesn't send out an announcement. It doesn't alert the surface about what's coming. It goes dark. It goes silent. It breaks open in a place no one can see. And in that hidden space, roots form. Deep roots, strong roots, the kind that can hold up a tree when storms come. But if that seed had somehow announced its process, if it had exposed itself too early, the birds would have found it, the sun would have scorched it, the foot traffic would have crushed it. Silence was its protection. Darkness was its advantage. And the same is true for you. Your vision is a seed right now. It's fragile. It's vulnerable. It doesn't need attention. It needs soil. It doesn't need applause. It needs pressure. It doesn't need validation. It needs time. But you keep digging it up to show people. You keep checking if it's growing. You keep asking others if they see what you see. And every time you do that, you interrupt the process. You stall the development. You delay the breakthrough. Because growth at this stage isn't visible. It's underground. It's internal. And it requires you to trust what you cannot yet see. The second rule will test you even more. Protect your vision from premature exposure. There are people in your life right now who cannot handle the weight of what you're building. Not because they're bad people, but because they're not wired for your assignment. They're not carrying your burden. They're not seeing your future. And when you share too early, you're asking them to believe in something they don't have the capacity to understand. Their doubt isn't personal. Their skepticism isn't malicious, but it's still dangerous. Because doubt is contagious. And if you're not rooted, their disbelief will become your hesitation. Think about the lion cub. When it's born, it doesn't look like a king. It's small, clumsy, uncertain. It stumbles, it falls, it learns to hunt by failing. And during this entire process, the pride protects it. They don't parade it in front of hyenas. They don't expose it to threats it's not ready to face. They guard it. They create space for it to develop instinct, strength, coordination. And only when it's ready, only when the raw matches the presence, does it step into its identity. Your vision is that cub right now. It's developing, it's forming, and you need to guard it like your life depends on it. Because it does, here's what most people don't understand. Good opinions can kill the right direction. Someone can give you advice that sounds wise, feels caring, and still derail you completely. Because they're speaking from their experience, not your assignment. They're projecting their fears onto your future. They're measuring your capacity by their limitations. And if you're not careful, you'll adjust your dream to fit their comfort zone. You'll shrink your vision to match their belief system. And years from now, you'll realize you built someone else's life. There's a craftsman in a small village who spends months sharpening a single blade. Every day he works in silence. No audience, no updates, no progress posts. Meanwhile, other craftsmen in the village show off their dull tools, boasting about how many they've made, how fast they can produce. They get the attention, they get the applause. But when the test comes, when the king needs a blade that can cut through stone, it's the silent craftsman who delivers. Because he wasn't building for applause, he was building for precision. He wasn't working for the crowd, he was working for the outcome. And his silence wasn't weakness, it was focus. You've been jealous of people who announce and seem to succeed. You've watched them post and gain traction. You've seen them share and get support. And you thought, maybe you're doing it wrong. Maybe you should be louder. Maybe you should market more, promote more, push more. But what you don't see is the depth. You don't see the foundation. You don't see whether their growth is real or just inflated by attention. And here's the truth. Anything built on hype will collapse when the hype fades. But what's built in silence, that stands, that lasts, that weathers every season, because it wasn't dependent on external energy. It was rooted in internal conviction. Right now, you're in a season that feels like death. You're in the dark. You're under pressure. You're isolated. And it feels wrong. It feels like punishment. It feels like you've been forgotten. But what if this is exactly where you're supposed to be? What if the manufacturer pulls the product off the shelf, not because it's defective, but because it's being upgraded? What if your withdrawal isn't rejection, it's preparation? What if the silence isn't abandonment, it's strategy? You're not being buried, you're being planted. And there's a difference. The pressure you're feeling right now isn't meant to break you, it's meant to shape you. Pottery doesn't become beautiful on the shelf. It becomes beautiful under the hands of someone who knows exactly how much pressure to apply, exactly how much heat to use, exactly how long to let it sit in the fire. And right now, you are in the fire, you're on the wheel. And every spin, every squeeze, every uncomfortable moment, it's forming you into something that can hold weight, something that can carry purpose, something that won't crack when life pours into it. But you keep trying to escape the process. You keep asking when it will be over. You keep looking for shortcuts, hacks, faster routes, because you don't understand that the process is the point. The delay isn't denying you, it's developing you. The waiting isn't wasting you, it's maturing you. And if you rush what requires time, you'll produce something hollow, something that looks good but can't hold anything, something that impresses people but doesn't fulfill purpose. Before I continue, answer one question honestly. How many times have you announced a goal, felt the rush of excitement from people's reactions, and then quietly abandoned it weeks later because the work was harder than the applause? How many times have you traded the discipline of building for the dopamine of posting? How many dreams have you buried under the weight of opinions you should have never invited? If you're still listening, something inside you is waking up. Something in you knows you've been doing this wrong. You've been leaking power. You've been giving away the energy that was supposed to fuel your execution. And now you're realizing that silence isn't the problem, it's the solution. It's not isolation, it's insulation. It's not hiding, it's protecting what matters until it's strong enough to stand on its own. The third rule will challenge everything you thought you knew about progress. Embrace the discomfort of being misunderstood. Because the moment you commit to building in silence, people will misinterpret your absence. They'll think you quit. They'll assume you failed. They'll create narratives about why you're not visible. And you'll be tempted to defend yourself. You'll want to explain. You'll want to prove you're still working, still moving, still relevant. But the moment you do that, you break the very rule that's protecting you. Let them wonder. Let them assume. Let them create whatever story makes them comfortable, because your job isn't to manage their perception, it's to complete your assignment. Your job isn't to keep everyone updated, it's to stay faithful to the process. And if you spend your energy explaining yourself to people who don't have the capacity to see what you're building, you'll have nothing left to actually build it. Think about forests. Forests don't grow with an audience. There's no applause when a tree adds a ring. There's no celebration when roots push deeper. There's no recognition when branches stretch wider. The entire process happens in silence. And yet, over time, those trees become strong enough to withstand hurricanes, deep enough to survive droughts, tall enough to provide shade for generations. Not because they performed their growth, but because they protected it. Not because they announced their progress, but because they trusted the process. You've been so focused on being seen that you forgot how to actually grow. You measure your progress by likes, comments, shares, views, and when those numbers don't move, you panic You think you're failing. You think you're falling behind. But what if the metrics you've been chasing have nothing to do with the transformation you're meant to experience? What if visibility isn't the goal, it's the byproduct? What if the real work, the deep work, the work that actually changes your life happens in rooms no one will ever see, in moments no one will ever applaud, in decisions no one will ever know you made? The fourth rule will separate those who want to look successful from those who actually become successful. Let your results speak, not your plans. Stop confusing movement with direction. You can be busy and still be lost. You can be active and still be aimless. Movement is just motion. Direction is motion with purpose. And too many people are moving fast in the wrong direction, celebrating speed while ignoring destination. There's a man who announces every morning that he's going to run a marathon. He posts about it. He talks about it. He buys the gear. He joins the groups. He updates his status, but he never actually trains. He's moving. He's busy with the idea of running, but he has no direction. Then there's another man who says nothing. He wakes up before dawn. He runs when no one's watching. He tracks his progress privately. He adjusts his strategy quietly. And 6 months later, he crosses a finish line while the first man is still posting motivational quotes about starting soon. Your results will speak louder than any announcement ever could. When you show up transformed, people won't need an explanation. When you show up with the business built, the degree earned, the body changed, the debt cleared, the skill mastered, no one will ask why you were quiet. They'll only ask how you did it. And that's when your story has power. That's when your testimony carries weight. Not when you're in the middle of the process trying to convince people it's working, but when you've completed it and the evidence is undeniable. You grow in silence. You heal in silence. You rise in silence. You learn in silence. You build in silence. You become in silence. And then, when the time is right, when the foundation is solid, when the structure is sound, you emerge. Not to prove anything to anyone, not to seek validation from those who doubt it, but simply because the work is done. And done work doesn't need defense. It doesn't need explanation. It doesn't need permission. It just stands, and everyone who said it couldn't be done will have to adjust their reality to accommodate what you built while they were watching someone else. Right now, you're being misunderstood. People think your silence means surrender. They think your withdrawal means defeat. They think your focus means you've forgotten them. Let them think it. Because in 5 years, they'll be asking you how you did what they said couldn't be done. They'll be studying the path you walked while they were busy criticizing the pace. They'll be trying to reverse engineer success they once called foolish. And you won't be bitter. You won't be angry. You'll just be grateful you didn't let their doubt become your ceiling. The fifth rule is the one most people violate without even realizing it. Guard your energy like a warrior guards his weapon. Your energy is finite. Your focus is limited. Your capacity has boundaries. And every time you engage in unnecessary conversation about what you're building, every time you defend your vision to someone who's already decided not to believe, every time you explain your process to people who've never built anything themselves, you're leaking power. You're draining the reservoir you need to finish what you started. There are energy vampires in your life, disguised as concerned friends. They ask questions that sound supportive but leave you feeling drained. They want updates not because they're invested in your success, but because they're curious about your struggle. They're waiting to see if you'll quit so they can feel better about their own inaction. And you keep feeding them information, keep giving them access, keep letting them into spaces they haven't earned the right to occupy, and it's costing you everything. You need to understand something critical. Not everyone deserves to know what you're doing. Not everyone has earned access to your plans. Not everyone should be allowed into the war room where your future is being strategized. Some people are spectators. Some are supporters. Some are saboteurs. And until you learn to discern the difference, you'll keep letting the wrong voices influence the right decisions. Stop giving explanations to people who don't have the authority to approve your life. Stop seeking permission from those who never had the courage to chase what scared them. Stop asking advice from people who are stuck in the same place you're trying to leave. Because their guidance, no matter how well intentioned, is contaminated by their limitations. They can only see as far as they've gone. They can only believe as big as they've built. And if you're reaching for something beyond their capacity, their counsel will always pull you back to what feels safe for them. You are not lost. You are loading. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. You are not behind. You are being prepared for something the crowd isn't ready to witness yet. And this season of silence, this season of solitude, this season where it feels like nothing is happening, this is where everything is happening. This is where your character is being built. This is where your faith is being tested. This is where your resolve is being strengthened. Because when you finally step into what's being prepared for you, you need to be someone who can handle it. Most people collapse under the weight of their own answered prayers. They beg for the opportunity, then crumble when it arrives because they weren't built for it. They wanted the position, but not the pressure. They wanted the platform, but not the responsibility. They wanted the reward, but not the refining. And so they rise fast and fall faster because elevation without foundation is just a longer drop. But you're different. You're not here for the moment, you're here for the movement. You're not building for applause, you're building for legacy. You're not chasing temporary validation, you're creating permanent value. And that requires a different approach. That requires silence when everyone else is shouting. That requires patience when everyone else is rushing. That requires faith when everyone else is panicking. Your silence is not weakness, it's strategy. Your withdrawal is not defeat, it's preparation. Your focus is not obsession, it's devotion. And while others are performing progress on social media, you're making actual progress in private. While they're editing the image, you're editing your life. While they're curating the feed, you're cultivating the future. And there's a difference, a massive difference. One looks good today and crumbles tomorrow. The other feels hard today and stands forever. Destiny isn't loud. Destiny is deliberate. It doesn't announce itself with trumpets and fanfare. It whispers in the quiet. It reveals itself in the mundane. It unfolds in the moments no one's recording. And if you're too busy performing for an audience, you'll miss the instructions being given in the silence. You'll miss the downloads happening in solitude. You'll miss the clarity that only comes when the noise stops and you're finally alone with truth. The world will know your name, but not yet. The world will see your work, but not now. The world will celebrate your success, but only after you've done the work no one wanted to do. In the hours no one wanted to sacrifice with the consistency no one thought you had. And when that moment comes when the world finally sees what you built in secret, they won't ask why you were quiet. They'll ask how you stayed focused. They'll ask where you found the strength. They'll ask what kept you going when nothing was visible and no one was watching. And you'll smile. Because you'll know something they don't. You'll know that the greatest work happens in the dark. You'll know that transformation isn't a spectator sport. You'll know that real power doesn't need permission, validation, or applause to activate. It just needs commitment. It just needs consistency. It just needs you to stop talking and start building. Here's what's about to happen. The next 90 days will reveal who's serious and who's just performing. The next 3 months will separate the builders from the talkers. The next season will expose who was committed to the process and who was just addicted to the attention, and you're going to be tempted to break. You're going to want to announce. You're going to want to update. You're going to want to prove to people that you're still in the game. Don't stay silent. Stay focused. Stay committed. Because something is being built in you that cannot be rushed. Something is being formed in you that cannot be faked. Something is being developed in you that will require every ounce of this pressure, every moment of this isolation, every second of this silence. And if you abort the process because you can't handle being misunderstood, you will produce something premature, something incomplete, something that can't sustain the weight of the calling on your life. You were never supposed to fit in. You were never supposed to make sense to everyone. You were never supposed to have a journey that people could understand from the outside. Because your assignment is custom. Your path is unique. Your process is tailored specifically for what you're meant to carry. And the moment you try to make it look like everyone else's journey, you dilute the power of your own. So build in silence, heal in silence, grow in silence, transform in silence. Let them wonder, let them assume, let them create whatever narrative makes them comfortable while you're creating the reality that makes you unstoppable. And when you emerge, not if, but when you won't emerge seeking validation, you'll emerge offering it. You won't emerge asking if you belong. You'll emerge knowing exactly who you are. You won't emerge hoping for approval. You'll emerge embodying the proof that silence, focus, and faith produce what noise, distraction, and fear never could. Your story isn't over. It's just being written in a language the crowd doesn't understand yet. Your breakthrough isn't canceled. It's just being prepared in a place the audience can't see. Your future isn't in question. It's just being constructed in the space between who you were and who you're becoming. And that space requires silence. It requires solitude. It requires you to trust what you cannot yet see and believe what hasn't yet manifested. The work you do in secret will be rewarded in public. The seeds you plant in darkness will produce fruit in daylight. The foundation you lay when no one's watching will hold the weight of everything you build when everyone is. Stay faithful, stay focused, stay silent. If this message spoke to your heart, share it with someone who needs hope today. And if you want more messages that grow your soul, subscribe, because your journey has just begun. You've been carrying this weight for too long. This burden of needing to be seen, needing to be validated, needing to prove your progress to people who will never understand the price you're paying in private. And today, something shifts. Today, you stop performing. Today, you stop explaining. Today, you commit to the kind of silence that builds empires while the world is distracted by noise. This isn't about becoming invisible. This is about becoming undeniable. This isn't about hiding your light. This is about protecting the flame until it becomes a fire that no wind can extinguish. This isn't about fear. This is about focus so sharp that distractions bleed out before they ever reach your vision. You're going to walk away from this moment different. Not because you heard something new, but because something dormant just woke up. That voice you've been ignoring, that knowing you've been suppressing, that conviction you've been negotiating with, it just got louder than every doubt that ever tried to silence it. And now you have a choice. You can go back to the noise, back to the performance, back to the exhausting cycle of seeking approval from people who don't have the authority to grant it. Or you can step into the discipline of silence and build something that doesn't need defense, because the results speak a language louder than any announcement ever could. The next 90 days are yours. No excuses, no exceptions, no explanations, just execution, just consistency, just you and the work that's been waiting for you to take it seriously. The world doesn't need another person talking about what they're going to do. The world needs people who disappear into the process and emerge transformed. The world needs builders who understand that silence isn't the absence of progress, it's the sound of it. So close your mouth and open your hands. Stop talking about the vision and start constructing it. Stop defending the dream and start developing it. Stop announcing the plan and start activating it. Because every word you waste trying to convince someone else is a word you should have been using to command your own discipline. Every moment you spend performing is a moment stolen from the actual building. You were born for this. Not the noise, not the performance, not the validation. You were born for the kind of transformation that happens when no one's watching, and the only voice that matters is the one inside you saying, keep going. And that voice is not going to get louder. It's going to get quieter as you get stronger. Because eventually, you won't need the reminder, you'll just be the evidence. Now go build in silence. And when they finally see what you've become, when they ask how you did it, when they wonder where you found the strength, just smile. Because they'll never understand that the secret wasn't in the noise. It was always in the silence. And you knew it all along.